Hello, everyone. There's someone thinking about you right now, and I don't mean casually. Like you crossed their mind for a second and then they moved on. I mean, thinking about you in a way that keeps them up at night, that interrupts their day, that makes them pick up their phone and put it back down 100 times because they want to reach out, but they can't make themselves do it. Welcome back. It's Anna. And what I'm about to share with you is going to feel really specific, almost uncomfortably specific, because there's a pattern I keep seeing, a dynamic that shows up over and over, where someone has deep feelings for another person, but they're paralyzed by fear. And that fear keeps them stuck, keeps them silent, keeps them watching from a distance instead of stepping forward. And you might have no idea, or you might suspect, or you might have given up hoping because it's been too long with no clarity. Let me paint this for you. You may know exactly who this is, that person who's always around but never quite says anything, who shows up for you in small ways but never makes a move, who seems interested but pulls back every time things start to feel real. Some people experience this as confusing, mixed signals. One day they're warm and present and you think, okay, something's here. And the next day they're distant and you think, I guess I imagined it. It might feel like you're constantly trying to read between the lines, analyzing every text, every glance, every conversation, looking for proof that what you sense is actually there. And there's less than Hashon. Zero hash is greater than, but they're terrified to let you see it clearly. Let's pause here because I need you to check in. This reflection invites you to consider, is there someone in your life whose behavior doesn't match their words? Who acts like they care more than they admit? Someone who remembers details about your life that most people forget, who checks in when you're going through something, who shows up when you need help even if you didn't ask, who seems to always be available for you specifically. You may have noticed these things and dismissed them, told yourself you're reading into it, that they're just being nice, that they're like this with everyone, but they're not like this with everyone. They're like this with you, and the difference matters. It's possible this person loves you in a way that feels too big to speak out loud, too vulnerable, too risky, because saying it changes everything. And once it's said, there's no taking it back. Some people would rather live in the possibility of maybe someday than face the reality of potential rejection. They'd rather keep you close as a friend or acquaintance than risk losing you completely by wanting more. And so they stay stuck, loving you quietly, showing up in the ways they can, hoping you'll notice, hoping you'll say something first, hoping somehow this will resolve itself without them having to be brave. You may have been frustrated by this, by the ambiguity, by the almost but not quite of it all. By the way, this person keeps you in this liminal space where you can't move forward and you can't fully let go. It can feel like emotional purgatory, like you're waiting for something that might never come, like you're investing in a connection that has no clear future. This reflection invites you to consider, have you been waiting for someone to be brave enough to be honest about how they feel? There's something specific about what they're afraid of. It's possible they're afraid of rejection, that they've built you up so much in their mind that the idea of you not feeling the same is unbearable. So they don't ask, they don't risk it. They just stay in the safety of uncertainty, or they're afraid of ruining what you already have. If you're friends, they don't want to lose the friendship. If you work together, they don't want to make things awkward. If you're in the same social circle, they don't want to create drama. So they convince themselves that Having you in their life in some capacity is better than risking having you in no capacity at all. Some people are afraid of their own intensity. They know how deeply they feel, and it scares them. They're worried that if they let you see the full depth of it, you'll think they're too much, too invested, too serious, too fast. You may represent something to them that feels overwhelming, not in a bad way, but in a this could be everything and that's terrifying way. Because if you're everything and it doesn't work out, that's not just a breakup. That's a loss. They don't know how to survive. Or they're afraid of timing. They think it's not the right time. They're not ready. You're not ready. Life is too complicated. There are too many obstacles, too many reasons why now isn't the moment. And so they wait for perfect, for easy, for certain. And perfect and easy and certain never come. It can feel like watching someone talk themselves out of something that could be beautiful because they're so focused on everything that could go wrong that they can't see what could go right. This reflection invites you to consider, if you had to guess, what do you think this person is most afraid of? Let me talk about what you need to hear this actually means. It's possible what you need to hear isn't that someone loves you. It's that you have a choice in this, that you don't have to keep waiting for someone else to be brave, that you can make a move yourself, or you can walk away from the ambiguity. Because here's the truth. Someone loving you silently doesn't actually give you anything unless they're willing to do something with that love. Unexpressed feelings don't build relationships. They don't create intimacy. They don't move anything forward. They just create this tension, this waiting, this wondering. Some people spend years in this dynamic, both people feeling something, neither person saying it, both waiting for the other to go first, and years pass and nothing happens, and eventually the moment is just gone. You may be in danger of that right now, of letting this drag on so long that by the time someone finally speaks up, too much time has passed, too much resentment has built. Too many opportunities with other people have been missed while waiting for this one to materialize. And I'm not saying that to create urgency. I'm saying it because I want you to know that you're not obligated to wait forever for someone to get their courage together. You can love someone and still decide their fear isn't your responsibility to manage. You can care about someone and still choose to move on because you need more than potential. You need actual. It can feel harsh to walk away from someone who loves you just because they can't say it, like you're punishing them for being scared, but you're not punishing anyone. You're choosing yourself, and choosing yourself isn't cruel. It's necessary. This reflection invites you to consider, how long are you willing to wait for someone to be ready to love you out loud? There's something about your own feelings that needs attention. It's possible you love this person too, and you're just as scared, just as stuck, just as convinced that saying something will ruin everything. And if that's the case, you're both in prison, both trapped by fear, both waiting for the other person to be brave first. And someone has to break the pattern. Someone has to risk it. Someone has to decide that the possibility of something real is worth the risk of rejection. Some people think that if it's meant to be, it'll happen naturally, without effort, without risk, without anyone having to be uncomfortable. But that's not how anything works. Real connection requires vulnerability, requires someone going first, requires risk without guarantee. You may be waiting for a sign, for perfect clarity, for absolute certainty that if you speak up, they'll feel the same way. But you'll never have that certainty, not before you try. The only way to know is to risk not knowing. Or maybe you don't love this person. Maybe you care about them, but not in that way. And you've been feeling guilty because you can sense their feelings and you don't want to hurt them. And if that's the case, the kindest thing you can do is create clarity. Not leading them on with maybes, not keeping the door cracked because you like the attention or you don't want to deal with their disappointment. Just honesty, even if it's hard, especially if it's hard. It can feel mean to reject someone who hasn't actually confessed, like you're assuming something that might not be true. But you're not assuming. You're responding to the energy, to the pattern, to what you know, even if they haven't said it. This reflection invites you to consider, if this person confessed tomorrow, do you already know what you'd say? Let me slow down and talk about what happens if they never confess. It's possible they won't. They'll stay scared, stay stuck, keep loving you from a distance, but never close the gap. And you'll have to decide what to do with that. Whether you can accept the friendship or connection as it is, whether you can stop hoping for more, whether you need to create distance to protect yourself from the constant almost. Some people can shift from hoping to accepting. They make peace with what is and stop torturing themselves with what could be. But other people can't. Every interaction is painful because it reminds them of the gap between what they want and what they have. You may be one of those people. And if you are, you might need to walk away, not dramatically, not with anger, just with the quiet recognition that this situation isn't serving you anymore. Because you deserve someone who isn't afraid to love you clearly, who doesn't make you guess or wonder or wait, who steps forward instead of hovering in the doorway. And this person, they deserve the opportunity to lose you if they're not willing to choose you. Sometimes loss is the only thing that creates the courage that should have been there all along. It can feel like giving up, like you're abandoning something that could be beautiful if only they'd get out of their own way. But you're not responsible for getting them out of their own way. You're responsible for honoring your own needs, your own timeline, your own worth. This reflection invites you to consider, if nothing changes, how long can you stay in this dynamic before it starts to hurt more than it helps? There's something about your own worth that I need to highlight. It's possible you've been accepting crumbs from this person because you've convinced yourself that their love, even unexpressed, is enough. That being the object of their silent affection is better than nothing. But it's not better than nothing. It's a specific kind of torture. It's hope without resolution, want without fulfillment, connection without commitment. And you deserve more than that. Some people stay in these situations because they've convinced themselves this is the best they can do, that this person is their only option, that if this doesn't work out, nothing will. But that's scarcity thinking. That's fear. That's undervaluing yourself so severely that you're willing to accept someone's fear as a substitute for their love. You may need to hear this directly. You are worthy of someone who isn't afraid to love you, who doesn't need perfect circumstances or absolute certainty or a guarantee it won't hurt, who just chooses you clearly, directly, without making you decode their feelings like a puzzle. And if this person can't be that, someone else will be. Someone braver, someone more ready, someone who sees you and doesn't hesitate. That person exists. But you won't be available for them if you're still waiting for someone who can't get out of their own way. It can feel disloyal to even think about other options. Like you're giving up on this person, like you're not being patient enough or understanding enough or compassionate enough about their fear. But compassion for their fear doesn't require you to sacrifice your own needs. You can understand why they're scared and still decide you need more than they can give right now. This reflection invites you to consider, what would it feel like to stop waiting and start living like someone who deserves clear, expressed love? Let me talk about what you might actually need to do. It's possible you need to have a conversation, a direct one, where you name the tension, where you ask the question, where you force clarity even if it's uncomfortable. I feel like there's something here between us. Am I reading that right? That's it. That's the question that breaks the ambiguity. And whatever answer you get, you'll know. And knowing, even if the answer isn't what you wanted, is better than wondering. Some people are terrified of that conversation because it feels like putting someone on the spot, like forcing them into a confession they're not ready to make. But staying in ambiguity isn't protecting them, it's protecting the dynamic. And the dynamic is hurting both of you. You may get a yes, you may get a no, you may get a I don't know. All of those are answers. All of those give you information you can work with, or you might need to create distance. Stop being so available. Stop responding to the mixed signals. Stop participating in the maybe. And see what happens. See if they step forward when you step back. See if your absence creates the clarity your presence couldn't. Because sometimes people need to feel the loss to find the courage. Sometimes almost losing you is what makes them realize they can't keep living in fear. It can feel manipulative, like you're playing games, but you're not. You're just stopping the game that's already being played. You're requiring that someone who wants you shows it, proves it, does something about it. You remain in complete control of what you do here. You can wait. You can ask. You can leave. You can stay in the uncertainty. But whatever you choose it consciously, not out of fear, not out of hope that if you just wait a little longer, they'll be ready. The power's yours. It always has been. You may notice reading this has brought up specific feelings about a specific person, and maybe hope, and maybe frustration, and maybe exhaustion. Whatever it is, honor it. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Trust yourself to know what you need. Before we close, I want to ask you something. If you knew for certain that this person would never confess, would you still wait? Drop it in the comments if you want to name it. And what's keeping you from asking directly what you want to know? Someone loves you more than you know, but they're afraid. And that's real. Their feelings are real. Their fear is real. But none of that obligates you to wait forever. None of that requires you to accept silent love as a substitute for expressed love. You deserve someone who isn't afraid, or at least someone whose love is bigger than their fear. Not eventually, right now, today. Trust yourself with this. Trust that you can love someone and still walk away if they can't meet you where you are. You can honor their feelings and still prioritize your own needs. I'll see you in the next one. And listen, unexpressed love doesn't give you anything real. It just gives you hope. And hope without action is just waiting. Stop waiting. Start choosing yourself.